Howdy, neighbors. Welcome to Cedar Creek Homestead. Appreciate you joining me today for another episode of Porch Talk. And before we get started, today's subject, which is where do we go from here? What do we do now? But before we get into that, just real quick, if you're not a subscriber, we would love to have you to be a subscriber to our channel. It really helps us out. It'd be a favor to me and Josie both if you subscribed. Also, after you subscribe, a little bell icon pops up. If you click that, then you'll be notified when we upload videos. I try to upload a Porch Talk video every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. And then throughout the week, we upload various other videos. Anyway, we're going to get right on into today's subject. So now, the election's over. Everything's might be calming down. I don't know. So I guess now we'll quit homesteading. We'll quit prepping. We can lay back and take our ease, and we got all this to look forward to in another 4 years. And we'll forget it all. Not. Folks, we do not prep just because of the political atmosphere. The political atmosphere is concerning. Can I say that I'm happy with the outcome so far of the election, or all the way things have happened? I think it's disheartening. I'm not going to get into all that today, though. I'm going to talk about something else, but I'm not going to get into the politics side, or try not to, because, I'm just not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But it is concerning. But we got into preparing. So where do we go from here? We had an election. People voted. Whether we like it or don't like it, we got to keep on. We got to live. We've got to go on with this world. There's a lot of other things too. I didn't start prepping because of politics. I started prepping because, first off, I felt led of the Lord to begin to homestead and to prepare and to get ready for times ahead. One of the reasons I felt the Lord was leading me in this direction was, I believe it's based on the Bible. I believe the Bible. The Bible tells us that there will be times coming, such as wars and famines and earthquakes and pestilences. And it says in divers places, which means lots of places all over the world. What I feel that means too. There's some things in the Bible that is just talking to the children of Israel, and there's some things just talking to the Gentiles. But I believe in that particular part, it's talking to everybody. Not to get nitty gritty on that part of it, but I just believe it's to the whole world, and I believe we're seeing it in the entire world. But I had felt the Lord leading me to get into homesteading and prepping, and I've always really been a homesteader. Just not as the degree that we are in right now. As far as prepping or preparing, being a prepper or preparing like we have, I never had really thought about it. I always thought that if you was a homesteader, you canned and put up some food and you kind of got things around. But to really prepare, there's some people that the degree of preparing is different, but they do prepare. They feel it's necessary to prepare. Even now, our government recommends that you prepare and have some, at least so many days worth of food, and they have their recommendations. But I believe that because, if anything, we have more of a reason to prepare today than we did before. But I feel, first foremost, the reason we do what we do is we felt a calling on our lives to do it. The next thing was, I will say that we enjoy it. We enjoy what we do. I enjoy preparing, being prepared, having food put back, having water put back, having other provisions, things, being ready for things to come. And then when they do come, just like we had this winter, early spring, we had the lockdown, they call it, and we could end up very well having another one of those. But we were prepared. We had stuff. We didn't stress. We were like, hey, if we don't need to go to the store, that's fine. We'll just stay home. We don't have to do anything. We can just stay home and relax and enjoy ourselves. And we did. And actually, I'll tell you, we had fun with it. We enjoyed it. I know some folks did not have, especially those that got sick. That definitely was not fun. And we've lost some friends, really good people during this time, and been a lot of death around in our area, and that has been very saddening. And it's we really miss those folks. And but being prepared is something that we've enjoyed doing. Homesteading is more of a way of life with folks, and you either like it or you don't like it. Raising your own livestock, having your own fresh beef that you raised yourself. You do what you got to do, and then you depend upon the Lord. This is a faith thing too. You can plant a garden all you want to, but if God don't send the sunshine, if you don't get the right amount of moisture, if things don't go right, you won't have anything come up. And so it's a faith thing too. It helps you, I think, grow closer to the Lord when you homestead, especially if you feel you're dependent upon what you grow, your livestock, your chickens. If your chickens, maybe you have a dozen laying hens, but if they don't lay any eggs, what good are they to you? So there's a lot of things in this way that's challenging, but we enjoy it and we have a good time at it. We have fun doing this. I love to see things grow. I love raising a garden and planting the seeds and going out there, and you can't wait till they start popping up out of the ground, and then you can't wait till they bear fruit. It's just exciting when you set eggs, and you can't wait till those eggs hatch like chicken eggs. You set an incubator full of chicken eggs, and 21 days later you've got little baby chicks, and you watch them grow up, and then you harvest those animals, and you see the fruit of your work. You get to eat the fruit of your labor. It's just so wonderful and so rewarding. I can't explain it. So we started preparing way before I ever knew anything of the people that's running in politics today, as far as them even getting where they are now. All that we started preparing a long time ago. And let's just say, what's some other things besides the political atmosphere? What's some other things going on to be prepared for? Well, one of the things that's going on right now is there's another hurricane storm that's strengthening, or was strengthening. I don't know exactly what, but Eta, or whatever it's called, is coming in. Man, the people on the coast, have been bombarded this year, it seems like, with storms and devastation. We just recently had here in Oklahoma, a big ice storm. To the west of us was a major ice storm, and I talked to a guy just a day or so ago that lives in the Oklahoma City area, and he told me he has a farm. And he said it was just very bad. He had to hire people to come in and to help cut up stuff. They couldn't take care of all of it, to cut up the trees and haul off wood and all the things that had to be done. And it has been a strain on people in this area. We also still have this virus that's going on. And this winter, Mr. Biden had said that he plans, what I gathered from the speeches I heard, is they plan to go back into more of lockdowns. So I don't know. As some say, like my son says, that he's not going, there probably won't be much said about the viruses after the election's over. So that it'll become not as serious of an event. Now, I don't know how that's going to happen, but already it don't seem like we're hearing as much about it in the news. But what if? What if we shut down again? Are you prepared for that? We are. We're ready for that if we shut down again. Also, fires, out in the California area and up in that part of the country has been major, devastating fires. If you've paid any attention to this at all, the homes, and some of our viewers have commented, and you've sent comments or emails regarding the devastation, and it's saddening. The devastation is just unbelievable. All the homes, when you have a home, and I feel for you, we had a home burn a few years ago, and all we had of clothes was what we had on our backs. And when everything you have is burned up, even if you've got insurance, and we did have insurance, but you can't restore everything that you had there. You cannot, all the memories and the pictures. I mean, you still have the memories, but things that are memories as far as pictures, in the last 15 years, we've taken a lot more pictures, and sometimes I'll go through those pictures and look, and I really get it. I enjoy that. My dad has some old photo albums of us kids growing up, and sometimes I'll look through them, and some of the things there, just the memories. I mean, it's just so rewarding to see those precious memories on picture, but a lot of those was lost in our fire, all of our clothes, other things that you can never restore. And you look at thousands of people that have that happen to them, and a lot of folks don't understand it, don't think of it, but it's a reality. It's a sad reality that folks are losing their livelihoods and homes and such because of these fires. We also have a drought here to the west of us. The drought is beginning to build. We've been blessed right here with lots of rain. Thank the Lord. We got kind of a dry spell, and then we had like 5 or 6 inches of rain just in a few days there. It just rained and rained. Now it's turned back off dry and a little windy, which will dry things out more. But I still am concerned that this drought will persist, and I kind of just got a feeling we're going to go back into drought mode. Around the world, there's countries that have experienced severe drought. In Australia, and some of them wasn't very long ago, they dealt with devastating floods, and they went to drought. We also, just a couple years ago, had devastating actually a year ago, had devastating floods here. That was unbelievable floods. And then there's earthquakes. There's been some tremors, some big ones going on. Thankfully, not a lot of damage around that we've heard of, but it's concerning of the things that are out there. So being prepared and having yourself prepared. Can you ever prepare for everything? Probably not. Can you ever be alone all by yourself? No. First off, I think you've got to have trust in the Lord and say, Lord, you showed me and you helped me to be prepared. And I thank the Lord that I feel like the things that have come on against us in the last several years, we were prepared for, whether it was financially, physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever, we were prepared for. And I thank God for that. Also, food shortages is still a big concern. And I know some say there's no shortages in their community, and God bless you. I'm glad for that. But there's others that there are a lot of things that are short of. And I've had you write me about things. We've gone and bought things that are being limited quantities of. Some things we've tried to get that you buy online and they're out of. And it's not just food. It's a little bit of everything. Besides food, there's supplies and things. Even right now, trying to get concrete is a challenge. To have concrete, we're fixing to pour a little concrete slab up here for a little addition we're doing, and the guy that's going to pour the concrete said right now he's got to order it a few days in advance. It was that you could just call and do it, but he said there's actually a shortage or something that they're running short of, that they're having trouble getting enough of. So there's a lot of things. Lumber has been short. Now, I'll just give you an update of what I've heard about lumber. Treated lumber mostly is the prices have skyrocketed, and some of the lumber yards have not bought up extra or keeping extra because the price is so high. A guy delivered me some stuff the other day and was telling me what a truckload that he had there, if you had that full of lumber, what it was costing, and he said it has like tripled in price. And but they're telling me right now that the shortages should be coming to an end, and that they believe the prices are going to start coming back down on lumber. And that brings me to another subject, is inflation. A lot of things are going up. Food prices are going up. We're going to see tremendous inflation. What does that mean? Well, if you buy property, if you buy land, houses, anything like that right now, is a good time to probably be investing and buying and having something, because in a short amount of time, what you buy is going to be worth a whole lot more than you paid for it. If you have things that could be considered liquid assets, which means you could sell them, they're going to skyrocket. The price of things, you're going to see people are moving in around here into the rural areas, and they're wanting to homestead. There was a big movement for folks to move from the rural areas like we are right now. There was a big move to move from these areas and go to the cities. And I believe it was even promoted for a while by the government, that it was more advantageous for folks to move to the big cities, more jobs, more services, government services, easier to do certain things and whatever. But now there has been a big move back the other direction. The past 20 years, we have seen a lot of our towns here, a number of towns in our counties right here that have dried up. One town I'm thinking of right now, Council Hill, Boynton, Oklahoma, used to be not major cities, but pretty good sized little communities. And they had banks and had stores and stuff like that. Most of them don't even have a store now. One little community, Marble City, when I was a young boy, it had big buildings, had a bank, motels, things like that. Now it's down to one little old convenience store and a few churches. It's almost like what you would call a ghost town. Other towns that I could just go on and on: Weber Falls, Oklahoma, Braggs, Oklahoma. Braggs, Oklahoma used to be a major place. An old gentleman here was telling me of about the area up there, and he was telling me how they had banks and stuff, and I think at one time had 3 banks. Now they just have an old convenience store and an old little malt shop thing, and it's just everything's closed up and dried up because people have left the rural areas like we are and headed to the cities, which everybody can go where they want to go, but it does right now. The real estate market here is a hot thing, and people are moving in. A lot of people moving out from the cities and wanting a little piece of the country, and maybe where they could have an acre, 3 acres, 5 acres, whatever. Most aren't wanting big pieces of land, but a lot of folks are selling out from areas like in California and getting big money for their property, and they can come back here and buy something that's is big, if not bigger, than they had in California, and still have money left over. And but nonetheless, we have things are changing, the landscape changing. So in another 4 years, there may be a different turn of things. Right now, there's more people living in the big metropolis areas than they are out in the rural areas, and there's a difference there. If you live in town, there's a difference in town. I always say in town, but in the city. If you live in the city, why there's a difference there. It's a different way that you live than it is out here in the rural areas. There's a different take, and I don't know all about that. I have lived in the city. I lived in Houston, Texas for a while, and it's pretty much, there's a lot of services that is provided there that you just take for granted that you won't have out here in the rural area. Now, it's getting better all the time in the rural area, but a lot of things that are automatic in the big cities, that when you get to the countryside, is not so prevalent in this. But there's still a lot to be preparing for. Another thing I wanted to tell you, and I was talking a little bit about food shortage, is food shortages right now. It looks like that food prices are going to soar. The farm shows, I get several subscriptions, farm magazines. I watch farm shows such as the agriculture show, This Week in Agriculture, if you've ever watched that. In this week's episode, Saturday morning's episode, was about, they had on there the prices, and soybeans are skyrocketing, corn, wheat, on the futures boards and things. And the guy said there is a shortage, and that people are not going to be caught short again. People are going to buy up and store up for a while. Other countries are running short, and it's a concern. Are we going to have enough here in the United States of America to supply all that? What's going to happen is the feed prices are going to go up. The feed that you feed your chickens is going to go up more. I already thought it was plenty high. Corn, I like to feed my chickens whole corn, my large chickens, so that price is going to be going up. If you feed your cattle any kind of grain, if you got a milk cow and you feed grain, that price is going to be going up. So getting yourself prepared for inflation in these areas. And one reason they're going to be going up is they believe we're in a shortage time around the world, not just in America, but around the world. Also, if Joe Biden is sworn in as the next president, a lot of the things that we've been at it with China is believed will be reversed, and China will go back to their old self, and they will buy a lot of more stuff from the United States. We will buy a lot more from them. We'll go back to normal. It don't matter. I'm just telling you what the belief is here. And if that should happen, then if China buys a whole lot more because they've been hesitant to buy, and it is believed that they are punishing Donald Trump because of his tariffs. If that's true, if that's what their motive has been, and they've not been buying from us, it is a fact that they have been running short on things. And they have recently went ahead and started buying because they couldn't have no other choice. They had to go back and buy. They had agreements to buy, but because of the virus and other things, they weren't doing it, trying to, basically, the belief was to get out of their obligation to hurt our farmers here in America. And they have, for some part, they have hurt the farmers. There have been programs to help supplement the farmers because of it. But the thing is, if as a rancher, and I'm sure farmers are this way, I'd rather sell my goods and get my money straight out. I don't want to have to depend on the government for assistance. So it looks like the prices will go back. Things will go back to normal. But what that will do is put a burden upon our prices here, and it will cause your food prices to go up. And there is definitely the futures people that invest in food, the food markets. If you know anything about the futures, such as in cattle and commodities such as corn and wheat and soybeans, there is a lot of people invest in that. And right now there is a movement. Now that may change tomorrow. You know how it is. It goes up and down. But there's a big move right now because they believe there's a shortage. They also believe that the Chinese will buy a whole lot more should Biden be sworn in as our next president. So some of that looks good, but on the other hand, it's going to cost you more money. So, and that's just the way life goes. But so being prepared and understanding that if you're raising some of your own chickens and you're feeding them, you're probably going to be paying a whole lot more for feed. It's hard to believe. I used to pay like $3 a sack for a 50-pound sack of chick starter. Now around here you'll pay $12 or so. I've heard some say they pay over $20 for a sack of chick starter already. Can you imagine if it gets up to $30 or $40 for a sack? How much you're going to have some expensive chicken to eat because if you raise baby chicks, you have to feed them, and especially if you buy these broilers, you've got a lot of feed in them there. But they're like little pigs, and they really eat. If you raise your own hogs, that's going to make a difference. So, being prepared food-wise, there's still plenty to be prepared for, and the landscape is always changing, and who knows what 21's going to be like. Boy, 2020's been something else. What will this next year be like? How will it come about? How's it going to be? What's going to be thrown at us next? And if you believe we're living in the days as prophesied in the Word of God, then we believe these things that have been happening will be even worse. And we're also told that people, the way they act and behave will be differently according to the Bible. And it says, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many will wax cold. One place says that over in Timothy said they'll be lovers of their own selves more than lovers of God, and so forth and so on. And talks about how people will be disobedient to their parents and unholy and unthankful. And boy, if we've ever got a generation like that now, it is here. And I believe this is going to it's just like a house of cards. It's coming down on us now. And we're going to see the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, should the Lord tarry, we're going to see it get much worse. So, but being prepared, when you know ahead of time, and I ain't quite sure exactly why God has told us to be prepared. I mean, I could see there's been things happen, and I'm thankful we were prepared. So maybe it was just so that we would be ready. But I even think there's something bigger out there is the reason God has had us prepared. But one thing that has been nice with being prepared and homesteading is sometimes somebody comes along and they're having a rough time and they need help. And Josie, bless her heart, she's always so sweet with it, the way she'll do it. But someone will be like, I just don't have, I'm having trouble buying groceries. Just ain't had the money and this and that. And if you come here to visit us, if you're a guest here, before you leave, Josie's probably going to send something home with you. It's just something that she does. She's going to send you a jar of pickles, a dozen eggs. Something's going to go home with you. But what she'll usually do, she'll say, you know what? Somebody that has a need, that some people don't, it's not that they just really need them, but she'll still give stuff to somebody as a gift when they're leaving. It's just something we do, and that's the way our ancestors did, our neighbors and people. When you left their place, they would try to send something home with you. It might be, like I say, a dozen eggs or something. But Josie will, if somebody's kind of, just in the conversation, most people that really need help won't ask. People that truly need help, they're independent, they're used to making it on their own, they usually won't ask. But in the conversation, if you get to visiting with somebody, they'll tell you, they'll say, hey, we've been, this has been happening. I've been having a little trouble buying groceries or whatever. Well, before they leave, Josie will come around to it and she'll say, our chickens are laying like crazy. And said, could you use some eggs, And, oh, yeah. And she might send them 3 or 4 dozen eggs home, stuff like that to help them. We've had times when people needed things, and Josie, I've actually kind of questioned her before, because there's been times where she had the awfulest gob of stuff she sent home with folks, go in and gather, just go in the pantry and start getting things and put together, but to feed them. Now, most people, that's fine. They like that. And there's some people that just want money, and they want it for means maybe to buy things that they shouldn't be buying with and doing what they shouldn't be doing that's not good for them. But we don't want nobody to go hungry. And if somebody came here and needed to eat or wanted to eat with us, where, that would be always trying to help people. So maybe that's some of the reason God has done what He's doing, to give us an avenue to help folks. And there's some folks out there that are just out there to get things that are evil means, you might say. I'll just give you an example. We used to live up in Missouri, and our church there, the one Sunday there was a lady back in the foyer, and we had a window where you could see out of the sanctuary, a big deal where you could tell if somebody was back there. And I could see this woman, she's kind of heavy-set woman. She's swinging her arms up and stuff, and she was talking to the ushers back there and greeters and stuff, and just and very upset. So I went back there to see what was going on, and she said, we need some money. Said, I need gas for my vehicle. And I said, well, ma'am, I said, we have a deal set up with the local gas station down here, and I'll call down there You can go down there and he'll fill your tank up with gas for you, and the church will pay for it. No, I got plenty of gas. I don't need gas right now. And I said, well, she said, we need food. We need stuff to eat. We're hungry. And I said, well, ma'am, I said, that's no problem. I said, I'll call down here at the grocery store, and we have an account set up for stuff like this. And the grocery store will let you buy up to $100 worth of groceries. You can't buy beer or cigarettes with the money, but you can buy whatever else and spend up to $100. And back then, it's been several years ago, $100 would buy you a lot of groceries. Oh, she just threw a fit. Well, I ain't hungry right now. I'll need to eat later. And some people are just bad actors, bad apples. I guess you'd say there's always going to be a bad apple in every barrel. And this woman, I believe, was one of them. So I said, well, she said, don't you take up an offering at this church? And I said, yes, ma'am, we do. But the offering's counted and accounted for, and they got a procedure. They handle it and put it in the bank. And I said, we don't just give out the offering. It's not ours to just do. We can't just do that. And so, she was mad. And so she just stormed out of the building and went and got in her van and took off. And so the next day or two, I was in town visiting with the Baptist minister up the road. And I was telling him this story. I said something that happened to us. He said, was she a little heavy-set woman? So gave some description. I said, yeah. He said, she hit our church too. And she said, we gave her some money. And said what she did, she just went, I guarantee you, went down the road and just hit every church and just went on and got what she could get from every church and told her sad story. Now, what do you do about people like that? Well, we know there's a lot of sorry folks in the land. I don't know for sure what you do. There's been times at our little church we go to now, people will show up and they'll say, come up with some excuse and say how they need money, and we'll give them money. The church will, as a group, we'll usually just say anybody wants to give them money, and so sometimes they'll come up with $100 or a few $100, and they'll get people get together, people that really don't have it to give, but from the love of God that's in their heart, they'll go ahead and give some money, and we'll take up a little collection and send them on their way. And we've had them tell us, I'll be back Sunday. And you never see them again. You never anything else. That's fine. But, I thought before some of them were up to ill-gotten means. And this has always been my thought. I thought if you come to the house of God and you steal that way, you got God against you. And so just think about this. I sure don't want God against me. And there's a lot of folks in the land, around the country here, that if they've done ill-gotten things, whatever it may be, they're evildoers. Are you sing an old song, God's going to get you for that? But that's up to God. That's not for me. God's going to get you for that. You might have heard that old song. God's going to get you for that. For every wrong thing that you do, God's going to get you for that. Well, God will get them. God will take care of them. That's not my problem. It says it's more blessed to give than to receive. And if we give out of a right heart, and you help folks. But there's a lot of folks from time to time that really need help. And if we could help folks that really need it, that's a blessing to me to be able to help somebody. And, one of the worst things that can happen is for folks to go hungry. And around here we have people that draw, we call it food stamps, and they don't need it, or they get it for other means. And there's people here that that draw food stamps, for instance, that they'll say, well, you give me $50 cash, and we'll go to the store and I will buy you $100 worth of groceries. And that happens. That's sad. We had an instance over here where a lady was doing that and got caught, and the welfare people come to her house and checked on her little children. And I believe it was 3 kids was there in the house, and she was getting several hundred a month in food stamps. And with a little card thing now, SNAP they call it, Supplement Nutrition Assistance Program, I believe it's called, the proper name. Well, but all through growing up it was food stamps, we called it. But anyway, She had one jar of peanut butter. They said just a little bit left in it, that she had left there with those kids, and she went out drugging and stuff, and had left those little children there all along. And I think sometimes people's like, well, they want the food stamp deal and stuff because they want to help folks. What's sad is the ones like this, these little kids, nobody wanted those kids to go hungry. And we certainly didn't. Those kids got taken to a foster home. I'm sure they were fed good there, or I'm hoping they were fed good. We prayed for them. Don't know where they were sent, but I thought such a sad thing that here in the United States of America that we have little children going hungry. And I certainly don't want any little child to ever go hungry. I don't want any adult to ever go hungry if I can help it. And if there's some way in you being prepared, if you think about it this way, that you could help other folks along. Maybe a neighbor or someone, their house would burn, and you might not be able to give them money. You might not have other means, but if you're a homesteader and you've canned and you've put up provisions and stuff for the winter, well, you can say, hey, we'll be able to help you. And I think what a nice gesture that would be. We always try to keep our extra guest bedroom ready. If somebody had to come and stay, and we had to feed them, too. We'd have food. We'd have a place that they could stay. They'd have We've had people show up in the middle of the night before and needed somewhere to stay. Maybe they were going to live out of their car. Maybe they had whatever had happened, but had fell on bad times and needed something in the middle of the night, and we've been able to help. I'm not bragging on this fact, but just the ability that we had that we could do it. Josie get up the next morning and start cooking pancakes so everybody can eat a good breakfast, different things and just the ability to help somebody along life's way. That's always my prayer when I pray. It's like, Lord, bless us, and Lord, help us be a blessing to others along life's way. And I want to be able to do that. And I want to be able to see when there is an opportunity to be able to help. I realize there's some folks going to take advantage. That's them to answer to the Lord. But I want to be able to do my part. But folks, we still have plenty to prepare for. We still got plenty to be concerned about. I think we're for some rough roads ahead. And there's so much ahead of us, so many uncertainties right now, and every election has consequences. There's going to be consequences to this one. I'm just praying and trusting in the Lord that He'll give us guidance and bless us and keep us. He's kept me all the way through. I wanted to say something about elections just real quick, not to get in a lot of politics stuff because there's enough of that going on right now everywhere you look, but I wanted to say something, that we've had times that we've had people that was elected president and it was promoted in such a way that it was the end of the world. They were the Antichrist. And guess what? We survived. So I believe we're going to survive. We will make it by hanging on to the Lord. I never failed, even in presidents, leaders, that times that I thought was good ones and times of bad ones. I still prayed and held on to God. And I'm still doing that right now. So no matter what comes or goes in our elections, God's still in control. And no matter who's elected president, God don't run for re-election every 4 years. He'll still be God, and I'm still trusting in His almighty hand to keep and guide me. And He will do the same for you too if you'll let Him. If you're one of His, He's promised us in His Word over and over to bless us and keep us if we'll just follow and do His will. And that's what I'm doing. Hey, I appreciate you watching today. May God richly bless you. We'll see you next week here for another episode of Porch Talk, aired on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. God bless you once again, and we're gone.